I'm just gonna ramble on about art. Maybe you'll learn something. I don't know. But what I've learned just drawing for so long, one thing that really has made my artwork better is just the line work. And I love adding depth to the drawing, and I do a lot more like cartoony stuff, but it's not, this doesn't pertain to just this type of artwork. Line work can really elevate anything you do in art. And it can elevate, how you color something, how you add details to something. You could do it easier with better line work. And getting better line work requires control of your tools. And I found the best way to get better control is to use a larger brush. Now, just for example, I'm going to draw a line. All right, not much to it, just a line. But using a larger brush with control, I can add different depth to the line. I could say, make it look like it's going away. I can make it look like it's shadow. Just one, and it's almost like a cheat code when you're drawing. So, and I'm not an expert. I've just been doing art for a long time, and this is just something that I really like to do. So when I draw something, let's say I'm gonna draw something really quick. All right, so this is a ball, okay? So I got this ball here. Sometimes I like to do the color first, and then I'll do the line work after. All right, looks cool. Nothing to the line work, but what I like to do is not only, I'll change the size of the brush as I go around, and it kind of adds a little bit more to this drawing, so I can, like, let's just say little eyes here, whatever, but it kind of makes it look a little cooler. It's not everyone's style. That's just what I like to do, and what I like to do as well. So, aside from like changing the thickness of your line work, right, to make things look a little bit, more three-dimensional. I don't know if you can see what I did here, but what I like to do as I'm making a line, I'll kind of like jerk the pen a little bit to kind of give like a little like indent, and that just kind of adds more, like, real life. Nothing's perfect. Nothing has perfect lines. Your arm, the internal structures of your arm. It adds, little imperfections to the outline of your, of your silhouette or whatever. So like if I'm drawing a person, I might, that's their shoulder, right? I might add these little lines that, or maybe it's the fabric or whatever it is, but I'll add these little lines, and that just seems to really elevate it. And that's just, what I've learned. And like I said, I use a very large brush. So, here's it at full, and I just change, so I just change the amount of pressure. I change the amount of pressure I use on the brush. And you could do this with a real brush, or like a brush tip marker I like to use, because I can control the size of the line with how much pressure I apply. So if I want to make a fine line, I just have to very lightly go across, right? And it takes a lot of practice, and I would say, practice is perfect. I mean, that's all art is practice. All artists, art is not a thing that you're born with. You may just be born with more patience. I don't know I don't know how to explain, but you know, practice your lines. You know, just do lines. just practice different thicknesses. Try different things, and then maybe try different shapes. Curves, whatever. Just practice. You know, the more you practice, the more you'll learn that you can add so much more to your artwork just by doing little things. And don't be afraid to turn the paper. That's one thing I learned actually late in life when drawing, is I realized, man, I feel like if I turn this paper, it's easier, so I turn the paper. And I realized that is the way your body is used to doing something. You're turning it to make it easier. Don't be afraid to do that. Don't think that you can't move the paper. You have to learn how to make this line this other way. I will straight up, I'll turn my whole tablet sometimes to make a line, and that's fine. Do whatever makes it more comfortable for you to do your artwork. Another thing that I've learned, and again, I'm not any teacher or anything. I'm not an art teacher. I didn't go to art school. Took a lot of art classes growing up. I read a lot of books, on drawing. But one thing I've learned is it's very important to learn your perspective on an object or on something you're trying to draw. And a lot of times I don't draw an internal skeletal structure to a drawing. And just for example, I'll draw this very lightly. Say you're drawing, I'm going to draw this little cartoon guy, but in order to get the depth of this character, you almost have to kind of draw a skeletal structure underlay of this, whatever you're trying to draw. And don't be afraid to do that. Some people think that's cheating. You just need to draw the lines. Don't be afraid to do line work underneath, because that can help you where you're, with knowing where to put the lines on this, and over time you'll learn where to put the lines, where they need to be, stuff like that. But over time you'll learn where these lines are in your head as you draw, so you'll be able to draw something without these lines. Anyways, I just wanted to make a short video about this. How important your lines are. Practice. Oops. Lines. Very important. Practice your lines. Make them how you want them to be. Give your artwork style. Don't be afraid to just suffer in learning to change how you do your artwork. Just practice your lines. You'll be surprised at how much it will change your artwork. Anyways, that's it. Stay cool.